Hello. Smoke. We get inundated with questions about smoke. What's the best way to do it? And I want to have billowing clouds of smoke oozing from my aeroplane. There's a couple of ways you can do smoke, and you can use a pump like this chap here, or you can use crankcase pressure. Both will give really good effects. Now there's some good pumps on the market, there's some pretty average ones on the market too. This is a power box unit, it's probably the best one on the market in my opinion. I've used various smoke pumps of the cheap variety, and the problem we find with them is they tend to vacate the fluid out of the pump, and they won't prime themselves again, and under certain conditions like a negative loop or something like that, they'll end up not pumping. There's some others out there that work okay, but essentially the best one I like is it's this power box item. It's got a speed controller in it, so you can actually ramp back the amount of smoke you've got going into the exhaust. So at an idle, for instance, it's only dripping in, and at full speed, it's when your motor's flat out, it's pumping in lots of fluid and you're getting lots of white billowy smoke. Now your second option is to use crankcase pressure. Now this frightens people a little bit, but effectively some of the best smoke I've seen, and on a lot of planes like Chris Brislin's planes when we go to the shootout, they're all run on crankcase pressure. It's quite simple to do and it's very effective. Obviously all you need is a good tank, and to be honest, use the Dubrow tank. It's one of the strongest ones out there. These will take a whole lot of PSI. So if you're using crankcase pressure, get yourself a good tank. And the SWB alloy cap helps a fair bit here, because you can put a lot of pressure on here to keep that a nice tight seal. So that's that part out of the way. But once you've decided, well, I'm going crankcase pressure, there's a few things you need to think about. Is you'll need a check valve. So essentially what we're doing is we're having the pressure coming out of the crankcase and coming back up to the tank, and this is a one-way valve, so it allows the crankcase pressure to build up inside the tank and not return back to the crankcase. So a good Peri valve, check valve, one or two. I used to run two on mine simply because I'd have one on one side of the firewall and one on the other side of the firewall, so if I was actually pulling the engine off, it was easy to get a break on the smoke line, etc. Now with smoke valves, the on-off valve, this is a Peri on-off valve. This is one of my preferred ones. There's very little pressure on your servo to operate this, and it's just like a normal on-off cock. It just opens and shuts, and you can vary it down a finite amount, because remember, as you're pumping the smoke in, when you go back to idle, you want as little smoke fluid going in as possible so you don't drown the engine. So you will have this on a curve, for instance, so that as you go back with your throttle, it's putting very little in, and as you're going to full throttle, it's wide open and putting a lot of smoke in, and you're getting good results with it. This is one of the better ones. Your other option is a Dubrow smoke valve. These are okay, they work quite fine. You need a reasonably good servo to operate these, particularly if you wanted to get particularly really fine control, because what this lever does is actually has a little lever inside, and it pinches off this tube, so both those tubes get squashed off, so it stops the pressure and it also stops the smoke going through. Now stopping the pressure is not that particularly important. It's more important to pinch off the smoke going towards the muffler, the smoke fluid going through, and again at low throttle you want to pinch that off so it's almost closed. But for that to be pushing tight on that and squashing it, you need a pretty accurate servo and something with a little bit of power in it. Now another thing you need to remember is this black fuel tube here is neoprene. Now when you're attaching that to your muffler for the smoke fluid, you need to use neoprene. Now everywhere else you can run Tygon, but once you start attaching to the muffler, neoprene is the stuff you need. Now problem with this stuff, it goes brittle after a little while and you'll need to replace it occasionally. So do yourself a favour, run Tygon just about as far as you can. When you come to the T-piece to split it into your muffler, use the neoprene from there on. Now getting the smoke to your muffler, a lot of our mufflers like this KS95 comes with a smoke tube already installed. Now we get great results with the smoke going into the canister rather than the header. There's a lot of stories out there that it should go into the header because it'll be hotter. To be honest, the best results we get is when it goes into the canister. Now you might already have a set of canisters and you're wondering how am I going to get the smoke fluid into there. Well, you can do something like this with your standard canister. If you get a Dubrow, here it is here, pressure fitting, it's an 832 one, they do 1032. All you do is drill and tap into here, tap it in, that's where your smoke fluid goes in, pumps in straight through there, and the results are the same. We've had excellent results on all our smoke systems, pumping fluid into here. It works well. Going to the trouble of putting a tube into your header, it can be done. You can do it if you like. We found it better in through the muffler, so that's your choice. You don't need to email me on that. If you like it that way, please go ahead and do it that way. For us, it worked better in the muffler. Now, when it comes to fluids, there's a lot of different things you can do. A lot of guys like to use diesel and some ATF and a few other odds and ends. ATF and all that other stuff will give you white smoke, and diesel will give you a brownie smoke, but it's not really billowy and it's kind of smelly and horrible. The best stuff I have used is the Super-Dri. Super-Dri is excellent. PowerMaster is also very good, but the Super-Dri, we get excellent results out of that. And the other good part about using this type of product is it leaves very little residual behind, and you won't have your aeroplane absolutely dripping with smoke fluid. Now, that's another thing you need to do. Anywhere there's any open timber or open end grain composite materials, you need to seal them, because this stuff will get everywhere. It'll get under covering. Make sure you seal everything. But smoke does look great. I particularly like it on other people's planes because I don't have to clean up the mess. But make sure you zip tie everything off so hoses can't pop off and go all over the place, because once it does spray around inside, it gets quite kind of messy. But it looks fantastic. If you need a hand, or you just want some more information on how to set up a crankcase pressure, talk to us. Some engines are already set up to take crankcase pressure, such as the DA150 and some of our older version 100s. You'll see here, Mark pans around, there's a little screw back here on the side of your reed valve here. Take this out and you put in a pressure nipple in behind here, and you will get crankcase pressure from that. Now, we can do this on some of the existing new motors, like the 100 light version, the 120s, etc. We have to modify the reed valve block, but it can be done. With your older version 100s, 150s, it's already available for you to utilise and go from there. Other brands of motors, well, they're still the same way. You can still go through the reed valve block. Again, if you're confused on that and need to have a chat about it, give us a call. Happy to help.